Because of this shot, this week things are going to be a little bit different, as instead of just recreating the best pots and best positional shots from the Champion of Champions, I also have to recreate the Mark Williams fluke at the end if I get time. Before that though, I have to recreate all the other best shots as accurately as possible before playing them in the fewest possible attempts. However, there may not be time, as other shots like this one, also from tournament winner Mark Williams, are going to be challenging enough. This one's going to be even more challenging for me though, because I have to play it left-handed. I can't do this, so I've mirror flipped the screen. I'm not actually playing this with my left hand, I'm playing it with my right hand, and I've just flipped it round. It's not that complicated. What is complicated is getting in position. Now, I won't be too bad if I play a shot similar to my first attempt and cannon the red, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to drop in between the reds like Mark did. Mark's already won the frame here, so as exhibition shots go, I don't necessarily think this one is too difficult, although I'm missing the brown far too often and I'd like to have potted it a bit more. But the main part of the shot is the position, and I'm not quite being accurate enough on the majority of these to land between the two reds. So let's see if I can really focus and get it right now I fully understand the shot. This is looking good, it's a tiny bit short of power, but that's got to be good enough. Well, that was a little bit more awkward than expected, but I think this next one's going to be even more challenging, as Xiao Guodong can't just pot this long red in the final because he already needs snookers, and a bold colour will be no good. That's why he needs at least blue or higher, and I think he was trying to play for the blue here, but just over-screwed it because the cloth's so reactive, and that's going to make things really difficult for me because my cloth definitely isn't. And as you can see, to have any chance of keeping enough backspin on the cue ball once it reaches the other end of the table, I'm having to put my whole body weight behind it and throw myself at the ball, which isn't really helping too much with my accuracy, so it's a bit hit and miss where the red actually goes. I've got it though, and I've screwed all the way back down the table into about the right position. I didn't even think that was going to be possible. On to the crucial part of Neil Robertson's quarter-final match against Judd Trump, where Neil looks in a lot of trouble and doesn't have a simple way back to bulk, so instead he just knocks this long red in off the bulk cushion. He catches the jaw, which doesn't leave him ideal on the black, but he still manages to pot it, make an 84 break and win the frame, and eventually this would win him the match by 6 frames to 4, so this is quite a crucial shot. I've got it fairly quickly though and potted it in the other side of the pocket, so I'm better in position on the black. How about this for a situation? You're 5-4 down against Mark Selby and you're snookered on the red over the corner pocket. What does Xiao Guodong do? Well, he swerves around the green and the brown and pots the red. This might not get him in position, but it allows him to play safe, eventually take the frame, forcing a decider which he'd go on to win, and then make it all the way through to the final. I was a little bit fortunate to double kiss it in, but with that much of a swerve, that's a decent effort. Mark Williams is involved in a close first round match until he plays this excellent positional shot on the pink, screwing the cue ball into the cushion to get it back across the table for the reds. He'd go on to take this frame and then eventually the next 2 for the match. I don't think this one's necessarily going to be too difficult. My first shot jumped out the pocket and the second one I've just miscued. I'm starting to get into the cue ball a little bit better, though I would have thought I would have got it already by now. I'm just not getting the white far enough back across the table. Still, this should be a lot easier than the Mark Williams fluke we've got to do at the end of the video. Under pressure in the semi-final, Mark Allen was able to cue this yellow into the centre of the pocket, getting the cue ball back in position for the green, which he'd take for the frame. However, he'd end up losing the match by 6 frames to 3. I did initially try this with a regular cue ball, but unfortunately my table isn't quite reactive enough. And unfortunately with the magic cue ball, my table seems to be a little bit too reactive, and I can't stop overscrewing this. I keep seeming to take more and more pace out of the cue ball, but as I do, I keep cueing it better and better. At least I'm potting the majority of these shots, so hopefully it shouldn't be too long before I actually manage to pot it and control the cue ball enough to get in the right position. But once again, I've overscrewed it. I'm not expecting it to be as difficult as the Mark Williams shot at the end though, so at least there's that, and that's pretty good. I'm on the green here, not quite back far enough, but that's more or less spot on. And this is how Xiao ends that semi-final match, with a cannon on the pink and the black from the blue. He controls this well around 2 cushions, and he's a little bit fortunate in the way that he ends up on the pink, but it's still a good cannon, and I have a feeling it's not going to be an easy one, as we're about to see. As I was expecting, it's all going to be about getting the side spin and the top spin right. It needs a slight stun run through down to the cushion to hit it in the correct place, and the side to make the adjustment around the 2 cushions to get the cannon. But after that, it's going to be a little bit down to luck, because there's no guarantee that when I hit the pink and black, I'm going to finish in position. What I'm looking to do here is just hit them direct and hope that leaves me with a shot on the pink. If I can get the cannon and pot the pink, I'm going to call that as good enough, because I don't think there's any way I'm going to recreate the shot exactly how Xiao played it. I've got a cannon direct, and as long as I can pot this pink into the middle pocket, which I've got, that's got to be good enough. Now I'm sure you're thinking, we haven't seen the Mark Selby long pot and screw the cue ball back safe in quite some time. Is he okay? Well, I think so, because here's Mark Selby in the quarterfinals doing just that. He eventually takes this frame with a 64 break, but would eventually lose the match by 6 frames to 5. Back to a shot once again that's just about getting the difficult pot and cueing it as well as I can. It's gone in, and the white's more or less in the same place. Could have gone back a fraction further, but that's more or less it. Where is Judd Trump, you might ask? Well, he's here, playing a pretty aggressive double in his first round match against Junhui. Not only does he get this, he gets the cue ball around the table and back in position on the next red. This break doesn't really go anywhere, but he ends up winning the frame and taking the match 4 frames to 0, which is pretty impressive against the International Championships winner from a few weeks before. This shot's confusing me a little bit, because it looked from how Judd played it that you had to hit it quite hard. And from the angle I've got as well, it also looks like you've got to hit it quite firm. But on my first attempt, I just overhit it. I've played it a lot slower, finally got the double, and I'm nicely in position. And up against that, in case this wasn't enough Judd Trump for you, here's another double from the very same frame, as Judd doubles the green into the corner pocket and tries to topspin the cue ball towards the brown. He slightly overdoes it and doesn't get in position, but as I've already explained, he would eventually win this frame. It turns out my table isn't reactive enough to arc the cue ball far enough down for the brown. This is about as best I could do. So which of these shots were the cheekiest double? Cue the music. I'm tempted to have a go at that again, just so I can avoid the Mark Williams shot, but both of these were really good, although not necessarily the hardest shot, so they both get 4, although I'm saying the winner is the first one, because Judd in this one got in position. Earlier on in this frame, why am I putting this in here? It would have made sense to have it before the... Never mind. Earlier on in this frame, Ding manages to pot the red off the side cushion. He'd get the pink after this shot, but wouldn't really get any further than this, and as I've already explained twice before, would eventually lose this frame and the match. I'm not sure there's too much to this one. I've just got to line it up as accurately as I can, and then eventually it's going to go in. And it's in, and the white's gone more or less in the right direction, but possibly a bit too far. The next shot I'm playing is from Judd Trump again. I'm not even sure I was awake when I picked the order for this video. Either way, this happened at a really crucial time during his quarter-final match against Neil Robertson, where he's 13 points behind before getting this snooker. Neil would miss this a few times, handing Judd the advantage, but it wasn't quite enough for Judd to be able to get a chance to take the frame, and he'd eventually lose it and the match by 6 frames to 4. Judd clearly played this with a little bit of right hand side, but I seem to be putting too much on the cue ball, although this has gone pretty well. I've got the snooker, I just didn't quite hit the shot straight enough, but that's pretty good. It's time for another safety shot, so it's got to be... Yep, Mark Selby. And this is actually really impressive because he's bridging over the top of the yellow here, but he manages to get the red thin enough to get the cue ball back down the table. He's a little bit lucky to flick the green, but the cue ball ends up behind the brown. This is just an unbelievably tough shot, and this could take me quite a while to recreate it. Obviously with this one I just need to get the thinnest edge possible, although unbelievably that's too thin. Mark was a little bit lucky when he played his shot to clip the green, so I'm not even sure why I'm attempting this, but I've hit 2 reds there and it's gone in behind the brown, so I'm definitely taking that. Here's a nice pot from Jak Jones, as he uses a small tray to the right hand side to control the cue ball off the side cushion and get nicely in position on the blue and green. He'd eventually go on to win this frame with a 106 break and take the match by 4 frames to 2, before losing out to Mark Allen in the quarter-finals. I've got this one on my second attempt, and that probably means I'm going to have a go at the Mark Williams shot now. We've got a Shaun Murphy shot coming up next, right after we find Bizranigan from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, which is there. Another Mark Selby shot has got someone, this time Shaun Murphy, in a lot of trouble, as he's already over 30 points behind in this frame, so if he leaves Mark a red, he's likely to lose the match. Shaun drops perfectly on a red that's near the top cushion, so Mark doesn't have a shot. However, Shaun still loses this frame anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. And for me, this is all going to be about finding the correct line and judging the pace. And just in case you weren't sure, I'm right over the top of the brown here, and that's why I miscued. If I can avoid miscuing for the next few shots, I might be alright here. I've hit the red, but it's not the way it was intended, even though it did go safe. So I'm going to have a go again, and this looks a lot better. I've dropped right in the back of the red. I suppose I better have a go at the Mark Williams shot then. Okay, we've made it to the end of the video and I'm doing it. I've got my cue. I'm going to try it. This isn't going to work, but let's see if we can get anywhere near this Mark Williams shot. Let's give this a go, because I mean it was a crucial shot, but I've got absolutely no chance of even hitting it, I don't think. Yep, he played it with backspin to make the cue ball check off the cushion. I'm getting closer to the red as I'm getting the right spin on it, and that's good. Hopefully it goes in the middle pocket and I can call that as good enough.
I'll take that.
The wrong pocket, but I'm never going to do it any better. Well, I'm glad I fluked that so quickly because I could have been there for a long time. And remember, you can vote for the winning shot, not necessarily the most ridiculous one, but the one you thought was best, using the link in the description. And we've got the best shots of 2024 coming up soon, so that's going to be crucial. And if you want to see some more shots from other videos, then have a look at these two. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website.